How's it going, guys? This is Second and Short, and we are back yet again. This is our fourth divisional breakdown of what they did in the 2020 NFL Draft. We're pretty much giving off grades, but really we're just talking about these draft picks they made, who we liked, who we didn't like. The grades are just for you guys to hate on us, in the long run. That's all we're doing. We're setting ourselves up for failure. But I am joined with Mr. Aaron Benn. Good morning to you, sir. How are you doing?
Good morning, good evening. I'm doing very well. I just got back from a run, so my entire body hurts, but we should be fine.
Old age will hit you.
It does. And it doesn't stop.
Well, let's start off with somebody that doesn't enjoy drafting picks. Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. He practically was one of the highlights of the NFL draft this year, virtually, how pretty much any time that the camera switched to him, it's almost like he made his pick and was like, all right, I'm going to go back to doing things I actually enjoy, and then just walked away.
I feel like his wife was like, Bill, I need you to clean out the gutters, and he's like, God damn it.
Like she ordered something from IKEA and he was in the middle of putting it together, and then Roger Goodell's like, Bill, we're drafting.
Just have my dog do it again.
He's like, I know we're drafting, but I'd rather you be mad at me than her be mad at me. So the New England Patriots are coming off of it's a weird situation, but it's a disaster of an offseason because they're losing stability that they have had for so long. Tom Brady not being there is going to change how everybody looks at the Patriots going forward. Or Bill Belichick is still a genius. He's going to find a way to do whatever he can. Andy Dalton just got released today as of us recording this. Is he going to be in New England soon? Who knows? Jameis Winston just signed for a very cheap contract with the New Orleans Saints. Is Cam Newton going to accept those terms as well? You never know. But the New England Patriots did very New England Patriot-y things. And that was kind of take guys that people should know about, but they don't. Or people should be paying attention to, but they're not. And these guys are going to do fantastic for New England. I have a feeling with this draft that they are going to come back from the dead of this offseason, and they're going to be able to fix some things. Aaron, what is one surprising move the Patriots did this draft or didn't do, in your opinion?
I think the whole draft was kind of surprising moves. The two biggest moves that kind of I think shook everyone was the first one being taking Kyle Duggar, that safety from Lenoir-Rhyne, which is a Division II school. I don't a lot of people hadn't heard of him. I actually hadn't. There's kind of doubts about taking a Division II player, especially that high. That's not to be I'm not saying that no Division II players ever come in and tore up the league. Some notable players that played Division II, Brent Grimes is a Division II player. Tyreek Hill, he played at Oklahoma until he got kicked off, and then played at West Alabama in Division II. And my Titans, Malcolm Butler, also played at West Alabama, Division II school, and he's made a nice career for himself. So I think Kyle Duggar, this is like a high risk, high reward type of deal. On this tape, he looks like an absolute man amongst boys. It's like when you look at high school NFL players, if you look at their high school tape, they're always 2 feet taller than the other players and just absolute cyborgs. So that's kind of how Kyle Duggar looks in this tape against Division II competition.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing, though. Before you get into where you keep going on, in my eyes, I saw the same thing, that he was a dominant force in Division II. And I think if you're going to not be able to play at the highest level in college, then you need to do everything in your power to stand out. And I think he did. Like you said, he looked like a man among boys. He was flying across that field, terrorizing everybody, dominating Division II, as he should, to justify this pick. I'm a big fan of Kyle Duggar. I think that he is very explosive. I love his speed. He's a true athlete, and he's like a he's got a nose for like the ball and everything. Like he's not necessarily like a true on ball hawk, but he just understands where the ball's gonna be and where he needs to be to make everything work.
Yeah, I agree. I think he like if he was like he's supposed to look great against that competition. So I agree. I think I agree. He was supposed to look great against Division 2 competition, and he did. He has elite size. He's got great speed. He's very explosive, and I think like the only thing he left to do is prove that those skills can translate to the NFL.
Yeah, and I think what he really needs to touch up on too is his zone coverage. It can get messy at times. I think that he is wanting to make a play so bad that he will kind of zone out of his zone assignment from time to time. And then I think that right there is what causes problems with his tackling from time to time, where he's just always wanting to make a big play. The positive to that is that if he does end up making a big play, it's gonna mean a lot in the NFL. Obviously, like I mean, if you can get that ball knocked out on an open field tackle by throwing your whole body at their torso, then that forced fumble comes a turnover. That turnover leads to a touchdown potentially, and that changes the game. But a missed tackle there, and you're just getting beat by getting looked silly. I like this pick though. Now for me, what surprised me, and it's just maybe because like I'm not a big Stidham fan and everything, and we talked about this on our review of their offseason, is that the fact that the Patriots just steered away from a quarterback at all. It just seems very odd because even when they had Tom Brady manning that team, they would still draft a quarterback in the second, third, fourth round and then use them to turn around and trade because you can always get more out of these guys in the late rounds. It was a surprise to me, especially with how Fromm and Eason fell. I thought they would have potentially jumped on those guys with how many, mid-round picks they had.
Yeah, I also kind of was surprised that they didn't take a chance, especially on one of the later round quarterbacks. Like Jake Fromm seemed like a good fit for them.
Now, let's talk about somebody else that you kind of like there. There's another player that we were talking about before, edge rusher from Michigan.
Yeah, one of your Michigan boys, and it looks like it kind of seems like the Patriots are like they really like Michigan players. Like they just lost their biggest Michigan alumnus of all time, Tom Brady. But they had Chase Winovich, and then they drafted two Michigan players this draft: Josh Uche and then Onwenu, guard from Michigan as well. Josh Uche they took in the second round. He's a very high motor player. He doesn't take any plays off, and that's kind of exactly the player that Bill Belichick likes. He's kind of a real Belichickian prototypical player because he's also versatile. He can play out of a 2-point or 3-point stance. He can be like a pure edge rusher. He can be an off the ball linebacker. So he kind of reminds me of Zach Bond in that he's a tweener. Like he's a bit smaller, so you don't know if you want to put him off ball or edge. But that's kind of what Belichick was doing with Kyle Van Noy and Jamie Collins the last few years. So I think it's a good fit for him. He does have kind of an injury history. He's had stress fractures in his foot. He tore his meniscus at one point. So I think he needs to try. We need to see if he can stay healthy. But other than that, I think I like this pick, and I think it's a good fit for him.
Yeah, this whole draft right here is I just keep thinking that it's a very, like the word you said there is a Bill Belichickian type of draft. I agree here. I think a lot of these picks to some people seem interesting, odd, reaches, whatever you want to call it. But in my eyes, whatever Belichick does is probably the right move. He likes to zig when others zag. He doesn't care what the rest of the league is doing. If everybody in the league started telling him that you got to throw the ball 50 times every game, he'll just use like 4 running backs and run it 50 times just because he knows what he's doing. He can get away with whatever he wants, and he's going to have success no matter what. These players here are, I think he came out of this draft with 2 starters. I think he's going to have a lot of role players here. Trading up for the tight ends back to back was puzzling, to say the least. But, everybody's been sitting here telling him that they need to get a tight end for a long time. It seems ever since Gronk left, since in 2018. And so, you know what? Go out, get your guy, do what you want to do. I don't care. It's if you got to trade up, you got to trade up.
Yeah, and I thought the double dip at tight end was kind of surprising, but I kind of like both of these players. They kind of complement each other pretty well. Devin Asiasi, he's kind of more of a receiving tight end. He can be a threat outside. So he can be a threat on the third down, like getting that just enough yardage to get the third down, move the sticks. Not a great inside blocker when he's like forced to do that on the line. And he's more, like I said, more of a pass catcher, more of like a receiving tight end. And then Dalton Keene was the second tight end that they took in. I think I like him more. This guy, his nickname is Rambo. He's just kind of a Swiss Army knife on the Virginia Tech team. He does it all. He can play fullback. He can play tight end. He can play wing back. He can do it all. He can block. He's a very good blocker. He can catch decently. And I think with James Devlin retiring this offseason, he may need to fill that fullback role a lot of times. So I think I could have liked that pick a little more than the Asiasi pick, but that's kind of my opinion.
Overall, the Patriots did a good job at getting players they need to help their team and help fit their team. This draft right here is going to get a B- to like a B. It's like on that fringe right there where it could be a B. I like a lot of things here. That's a positive grade in my eyes. I think the trade down was interesting, but you know what? Getting an extra third, getting that second right there at the top, going off and getting your guys is exactly what we expect the Patriots to do. Let's shift gears now and let's talk about the New York Jets, who had a very good draft in our eyes. And a very good draft in the eyes of, their fans over on Reddit, which we conducted a poll, and there was a lot of talk about guys in the comment section, and there were so many other votes and everything. Let's talk about the Jets draft.
Yeah, the Jets, I'll just go through real quickly who they drafted, and then I'll talk about what things that I like that they did. They drafted in the first round Mekhi Becton, that big offensive tackle from Louisville. Second round, they got one of my favorite players in the draft is Denzel Mims, a wide receiver from Baylor. And then in the third round, they had 2 third-round picks. One was a pick they received from the Giants in that Leonard Williams trade. They picked up Ashton Davis, safety from California. Another third-round pick, Jabari Zuniga, defensive end from Florida. Then they had 3 fourth-round picks, LaMichael Pirine, running back from Florida, and James Morgan, a quarterback from Florida International. And then also in the 4th round, Cameron Clark, an offensive tackle from Charlotte. And then in the 5th and 6th round, cornerback Bryce Hall from Virginia. And then a punter, Braden Mann from Texas A&M, who's got a big leg. I want to talk about the Denzel Mims pick. And like I said, he is one of my favorite players in this draft. I think he's very underrated. I think he can come in and be a day one starter at the X receiver position. He's got a great catch radius. I mean, he makes really great contested catches. Not as polished a route runner as you'd like, but that's something that can definitely be fixed. and that'll help him get more separation, especially off of press coverage. Another reason I really like this pick is Jets fans were clamoring for him at the 48th pick, but then like they traded down, so I think they were kind of like upset at first that they didn't take him. He was there. They traded down with the Seahawks, who gave up their second round pick, which is the 59th pick, and then the 101st pick in the third round. So they ended up getting Denzel Mims with that 59th pick. So not only did they get the guy, they also traded down and got an extra pick. And then not only that, they traded their third rounder, the 101st pick that they got from the Seahawks, and they sent those to New England for 2 fourth rounders and a 2021 sixth rounder. So I thought that was some really good maneuvering by Joe Douglas, their new GM, and I just was really impressed with that. So that's kind of what I have to say about Denzel Mims. Who did you like from their draft, Tyler?
No, I agree. I was a big fan of Mims as well. I'm surprised that he fell as far as he did, just because of all the things you said and more that, this guy is consistently winning 50-50 balls. He's a really good blocker. His catch radius is awesome. I like his hands. He's very tough. I think he has true number one wide receiver potential. This is something that like we weren't saying about like Ruggs for the Raiders, is that I don't think Mims needs a compliment to be successful. I think he can take over a team as the best receiver on that team. And I think he's going to do that, if not this year, in year two. I think it's just inevitable in my eyes.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no real wide receiver depth on that team. Like, there's no one who should challenge him for that number one spot.
Yeah, realistically, their biggest options here, if we just go over this list, there's always like these like asterisks next to them, and it's like they have guys like Quincy Enunwa who can't stay healthy. Brashad Perriman, who might be facing a suspension after he just signed there on a 1-year deal, and Jamison Crowder, who is one of the best complement receivers in the NFL, in my opinion, because he can do so much on the inside and outside. I just think Denzel Mims is going to come in, take over, be the guy going into year two for Sam Darnold. Now, let's talk about the workout warrior. Let's talk about that big mountain of a man that they got at pick 11. And Jets fans have got to be loving this draft because they wanted a receiver or a tackle from everything I heard at pick 11. And they got their guy.
Yeah, they picked up the big boy Mekhi Becton, and we saw from his family why he's that big. His dad is also enormous. He's an athletic freak. Like he came in and just blew up the combine. He's a mauler in the run game. He's a bit of a raw prospect. He needs to get a bit more technically sound. He can get kind of too high in his stance, and it throws him off balance when he's defending the pass. And then he just needs to, like, we're talking about how big he is. He needs to watch his weight and make sure he stays at like a playable, like maintainable playing weight. I think that's a concern that needs to be addressed. Because right now he's at like 360 pounds. Maybe the Jets want him to take a few pounds off, but I don't know. With that speed, I don't think it's too much of a concern. But just have to make sure he doesn't go too overboard with that.
Yeah, I mean, he ran in the 40. He had a 5.1 40 time. Like, it's just insane. Like, that number really isn't that crazy. But then when you add in the fact that he's like over 6'7" by a little bit, and he's over 360 pounds, that's just insane to see that much speed, that much burst from this big dude. I agree. He does need to clean up a lot of things. I think that he has a lot of potential. He doesn't have a very high floor, but he's got a tremendously high ceiling, especially out of all this tackle class. And the fact that he was still taking that high, even though he kind of has these like raw attributes that need polishing. His technique and his footwork, his strength and his agility will help him out going forward. I don't know if his health is really like it will be an issue. I don't know if his weight will be an issue. That is something to be interesting to monitor and everything, just due to how massive he is already. This is a great pick for the Jets. I mean, the Jets have done some work by bringing in George Font, bringing in Greg Van Roten, and they have started to slowly make sure that they can take care of Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I think they're doing a good job of like starting to really put pieces around Sam Darnold, because I think he's showed a lot of promise, but with the team he's had around him, he hasn't really been able to unlock that full potential. So I think they're helping him out a lot this draft.
Now, somebody that they got later on in the draft is 5th round pick at 158 was cornerback Bryce Hall out of Virginia. This was a major surprise to me, Jets fans. And not the normal reason, because I had a 3rd round grade on him. I had him going around pick 90. And the fact that he fell 2 full rounds after that, I mean, this guy, Bryce Hall, is 6'1", 200 pounds. I mean, that right there, the size right there is impressive. But he's got nice length. He has amazing ball skills. He's great in zone coverage. He is truly a beast on that field. He does need to touch up his man coverage. However, I just think there's so much that this guy can do with his length and his strength, and like how he's like not afraid to go toe to toe with any receiver. I think they might have gotten a steal, and they potentially might have just gotten like a not year 1, but year 2 or 3, a future starter, which they do need at that cornerback position.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that one of the main reasons he fell was because of that ankle injury that ended his season. Otherwise, he may have gone a lot earlier in the draft. So I think it'd be interesting to see if he can stay healthy and work his way into that lineup.
Yeah, the ankle injury did limit him to 6 games, but I think a healthy player like of his caliber is going to do a lot for this team, who is still trying to find the identity of that cornerback, position. So, New York Jets, they get a B+. They don't win the division. However, they come out of this draft looking like geniuses for the fact that they were able to draft so many players. Like, we didn't even touch on, Ashton Davis and Jabari Zuniga. Ashton Davis is a great insurance policy just in case Jamal Adams gets traded, which we don't know when that's going to happen, if it's going to happen. I feel like I personally just want them just to trade him just so I don't have to hear about the rumors anymore. But I know Jets fans don't want to see him go because he is one of the best safeties in the league. But there we go. B+, New York Jets. I like it. And hopefully you guys did too. And it kind of seems like you guys did on Reddit, but I just want to, all you Jets fans out there, I really hope you like this draft, because I feel like it's the first time in a while that the Jets have just had a solid draft from top to bottom. The Buffalo Bills, and all their defensive presence that they have here. This draft for the Bills was interesting. Obviously, they didn't have a 1st round pick, and I kind of saw some people that were upset that like we didn't include a trade that happened. So some Denver Bronco fans were upset a little bit, even though we gave them a very good grade, because 2 of their draft picks did go to players that are going to make a heavy impact on their team in 2020. So Buffalo Bills send out a 1st round pick, get Stephon Diggs. They get another small receiver who's very quick and agile and can win underneath and can create a lot after the catch. And that means they didn't draft until 54, which is a long time to wait in this draft. Tell everybody who they got, and then we'll break them down on who we like.
All right. Well, I have kind of a soft spot for the Bills because my 2 older siblings and my father are all Bills fans. So I was kind of more invested in their draft as well. I know Bills fans are really excited about the Stephon Diggs acquisition because they really did need to get. They needed someone to complement John Brown there on that team and Cole Beasley. So the second pick, or the second round pick at 54, they drafted AJ Epinesa, defensive end from Iowa. In the third round, Zack Moss, running back from Utah. In the fourth round, Gabriel Davis, wide receiver from UCF. Fifth round, Jake Fromm, State Farm, the quarterback. Round 6, Tyler Bass, a kicker from Georgia Southern. Also in the 6th, Isaiah Hodgins, a wide receiver from Oregon State. And then the 7th, they drafted Dane Jackson, who's a cornerback from Pittsburgh. I was going to talk about AJ Epinesa real quick. This is a guy who was projected by a lot of pundits to go in the first round. And then he ended up sliding all the way down to 54. I think it's a great pickup. I think it's the big knock on him is that he's kind of slow. He's not like real athletic in terms of speed and explosiveness. But he's got great hands, great technique. He's very strong, and I like it because he's not gonna like feel pressure to start right away. He's gonna be rotated in with Addison and Jerry Hughes. So he can come in like certain situations. He's not gonna need to be that every down player, at least not just yet. So I think it's a good fit, and he's only gonna improve this already really scary defense.
I think honestly what it was the combine and the fact that he didn't have a chance to have a pro day to make up for it, because I mean we just got done talking about Becton, who's 364 pounds, and he ran a 40 of 5.1, and Epinesa ran a 5.04, which is not very good considering the fact he's 6'5", 275. You know, he only put up 17 on the bench press. He had a decent vertical, broad jump, you know, but everything was just kind of disappointing from where they had him, because he grades out as a starter, like a future starter in the NFL. A lot of people had him like number 20 to 25, and I think this is the one year that players that had a bad combine just got shafted when it came to the draft. However, that means the Buffalo Bills get a steal. 100% get a steal. He's a top 5 defensive end in this draft. I like a lot of things he can do. He's got decent length. He is technically sound. He knows as soon as that ball is hiked, from the moment his hand leaves the ground till he hits the offensive lineman he's going against, he does everything exceptional. He's a very sound player. He's got a great use of his hands. And also what I like is that he's an edge rusher. And most edge rushers are all about getting sacks. It's all about me. Look what I did. But you know what? This guy's a great run defender as well. He can bounce inside, and he can cause chaos for offensive lines. The fact that he can come from different angles. I really like this pick for them. I don't think that he can play in a 3-4 off the ball. I don't know if he'll be able to do that. I think he has more success coming off the defensive line.
Yeah, I agree with that. Another player I know Bills fans are pretty excited about was Zack Moss. He's a running back from Utah. He's kind of a more power back, so it's kind of going to be a good complement to go along with the Motor Singletary, who I know Bills fans really liked him last year. He kind of was for people who don't follow the Bills, I think he was kind of a surprise that he had that much production in their team. He's good catching passes out of the backfield. He can run the ball well, he's agile. So Zack Moss comes in, and he's more of a power back. He's not very fast, but he's very explosive. He had 16 plays of over 25 yards just in 2019 alone. And he was a Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year this year. Even being a power back, he was still third on the team in receptions in 2019. So I think that kind of shows he can also be kind of versatile, but just as I think it's a very good compliment to Devin Singletary.
See, I look at it the other way around. I think Devin Singletary is going to be a great compliment to Zack Moss. I love this pickup of Zack Moss. I thought he was an amazing talent at Utah the past couple of years. I liked when he was healthy what he can do for a team, and I don't think he's just like a power back. I really don't. I think that is a very big plus. The fact that he has ideal size for a running back. I mean, he's 5'10", 220 pounds. That's great size for a running back. But he has passing ability. But he has pass catching ability. As you said, he was third in the team. I mean, he had 28 catches last year for 388 yards and 2 touchdowns. That is paired up with him having over 1,400 yards rushing and 15 touchdowns, averaging over 6 per carry. I mean, I like a lot of things he does here. He has great balance. This is not a guy that goes down on the first hit. This is one of those guys that, like, when they teach kids to wrap up at the hips and not try and make a big play or not arm tackle, this guy's the reason why. Because he's gonna make you look silly. He's gonna hurt you, and he's gonna keep his balance. He's gonna run for a touchdown. I'm a big fan of Zack Moss. I really was. I think this draft class for running backs is tremendous, and we're gonna see a lot of offensive skill players in like 5 years looking back at this draft and just going, wow. Because everybody's been talking about how defensive this draft is. And it is. But, I mean, I think the running backs here are going to step up what people have been doing in the past. Now, let's talk negatives on Zack Moss, however. He's not explosive. That comes back to the power back thing. He does have decent speed, but yeah, he doesn't have that extra burst to hit the edge and to really take one home in the NFL, I think. I think those guys have more elite speed, and they're going to be able to expose that because he doesn't have this burst. Also, he's at 778 college touches. That's a lot. I mean, that's like a consistent 250 RB2 in the NFL. And so that's a kind of a worry for me that he has so much mileage on him already. And I think don't quote me on this, but I mean, like, Josh Jacobs, who was a first round pick last year, had like just barely over like 500 college touches. It was like somewhere between 500 and 600. And so that's just my point right there. Just the amount of touches he's had is a little bit worrisome, but I love his size, and I think he's going to be great for this team. Now, give me somebody a little bit later. Let's get out of day one, day two. Give me one player here that you liked for this team.
I liked, to be honest, and I was surprised he didn't go earlier. I liked Jake from State Farm. I think he's a quarterback, as you know. I think he was a very good pickup in the 5th round. I was surprised like I said, I was very surprised he didn't go earlier because I think he's a very safe pick. I think he's not going to come in and like win you games and like go throw for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns every game.
Well, I mean, because he's not going to be able to start, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Because I know the Bills are really high on Josh Allen, and I have to admit, I wasn't really excited about him coming into the league, but he has shown a lot of improvement from year 1 to year 2. I think this year he needs to take that next step up, and there's no reason he shouldn't. He has a more physical playing style, kind of like it reminds of Cam Newton, where he just takes those big hits and keeps going, but eventually he might get hurt, and I'm not going to try and predict that he's going to get hurt, but it could happen. And Jake Fromm is a good, safe insurance plan because he's from State Farm. So he can come in, play solid, throw for 250 yards, a touchdown. He's not going to turn the ball over a lot. If he doesn't make any mistakes, he can rely on their defense, their run game to come in and kind of win the game for them.
And if all goes well, he can, as I say, if all goes well, he can lower your rates as well. So that is a positive.
Yes.
No, I mean, I agree. I like this pickup here. The one of the good things about taking Jake Fromm is that the fact that Buffalo could use a more consistent backup. I think getting somebody a little younger than these aging vets. I think Allen is fine now as a veteran leader. I know it's only been a couple of years, but he's coming into his own. This also blocked the Patriots from getting Jake Fromm in the 6th round, right after them. So I know where you say that teams don't really necessarily draft against other teams, but it's hard to think they don't when you see moves like this. A late round pick guy that I like is, and I know they took Gabriel Davis in the 4th round, but 6th round wide receiver Isaiah Hodgins out of Oregon State. I love this pickup. This guy has the ability to come in and right behind that Stephon Diggs, John Brown, Cole Beasley, step up and be the next guy. And what I like about him is that he is the complete opposite of all those other guys. And the fact that he's 6'4". Not only is he 6'4", but he's a really good route runner. He's got great hands, great catch radius. Obviously, he's tall man catch well. That's obvious in the NFL. What I really like about him is how well he produces. He spent 3 years at Oregon State leading their team in receptions each year. His junior year was highlighted by him having 86 catches, 1,171 yards, and 13 touchdowns. I just like guys that can produce. If you can produce at the college level, I believe you can produce at the NFL level. Now, you don't need that, but it makes me feel comfortable. I'm a big fan of him coming in just because he's got this great size. I think he's going to have a role in this offense due to that size. He doesn't get a lot of separation, and he's not very strong, considering the fact that he's 210 pounds. He doesn't have a lot of strength on him when it comes to like getting off of the press coverage. Like I said, creating that separation. But those are little things that I feel like he can improve on. Like you can't improve like how like your radius of catches, like your height, stuff like that. Like those are natural gifts that you're just given at birth that you develop as you grow older. And I think that he needs to take those, utilize them, develop these other tools, and potentially here could step into a nice number 3 or 2 spot in like a year or two.
Yeah, and if we're talking about late round picks, I gotta say I was not. They took the kicker Tyler Bass in the 6th round. I'm not gonna say I'm like it's drafting a kicker, but I think they took the wrong Georgia kicker. I really liked Rodrigo Blankenship from University of Georgia. Jake Fromm's a buddy there, and he's really. I mean, I would almost take him just for the glasses alone, but he really impressed me a bit more than Tyler Bass. So I think that's kind of one problem. It's kind of nitpicky, but that's just how I feel about the kicker situation there. But I hope he works out. I hope he solves their like kicking woes as of late, and they can get it done.
All right, Buffalo Bills fans, you guys get a B+. Not only did they get a steal of a defensive end in the 2nd round, did they get, in my eyes, I could be alone, an upgrade at running back in the 3rd round, and they got quality depth at the quarterback position, wide receiver, and they got a cornerback late. Add in Stephon Diggs, solid B+, especially when we're comparing it to this division, 2nd best team of this draft. But let's move into the winners of the NFL draft for the AFC East. That is going to be the Miami Dolphins, one of the teams that owned this draft. I think them and the Jags were the only 2 teams with over 12 picks. And you know what? They came out and they did what they wanted to do. Everything else was smokescreen. You all fell for it. I fell for it. They didn't like Justin Herbert more than Tua. They weren't going to trade up. They weren't going to trade down. Let's talk about the Miami Dolphins picks. And don't go over everybody because we don't have an hour to talk about these 67 draft picks they had.
I'm going to go over like the top half of their draft. They picked up with 3 picks in the 1st round. First of all, number 5, Tua, we all know, quarterback from Alabama. And then at 18, the pick that they got from the Steelers in exchange for Minka Fitzpatrick. They picked up Austin Jackson, who's an offensive tackle from USC. At number 30, they drafted Noah Igbinoghene, cornerback from Auburn. And then 2 picks in the second round, Robert Hunt from Louisiana, Raekwon Davis, defensive tackle from Alabama. And in the third round, Brandon Jones, a safety from Texas. Then they had a 4th round pick, 2 5th round picks, a 6th and a 7th round pick. My question for you, that I had read an article online posing the same question. What do you think about, given to his injury history, we're not sure if he's healthy. He wasn't able to meet with teams, wasn't able to go through physicals. Maybe we won't have an off season. Maybe he won't have that time to learn the playbook like needed. And given the fact that I don't think the Dolphins, I don't think they're trying to fool themselves. They're not going to the Super Bowl this year, most likely. So what would you think about basically redshirting Tua this season? Just sitting him on the bench the entire season, having Ryan Fitzpatrick, maybe even Josh Rosen go out and play, see what they can do, maybe raise their stock for a potential trade, and just having Tua sit, get healthy, and learn the playbook. What do you think about that?
I think that sounds wonderful. I think it's a perfect deal. I think that's exactly what they should do. They should be prepping Tua for the future and not just for right now. I wasn't one of those people that was all on for Tua. I understand the reasons why people are. I just have those concerns, and I like my guys that I draft early in the NFL to come in and be high impact players from day one. And my only issue is if the Miami Dolphins play him right away, if he gets to start week 1 and he gets hit and gets hurt, and we have one of these like career ending injuries, that it's just going to be the worst situation for him. I think he needs to have all the proper options ahead of him to get healthy, to heal up, come back, be a playmaker, lead this team, and then we're done. Just it writes itself. But he's got to rest. I'm not a big fan of like hearing like, oh no, I'm good, but then like there's like one report saying he's not necessarily good. Like, why is that report out there? Is it just, it could just be clickbait, but like, if everything's consistent and you're not hurt, then you're not hurt. And I don't think he's 100%. So
I think they have nothing to. And there was a time when rookie quarterbacks didn't come in and start right away every game. I think this would be a good opportunity for him to not only get fully 100% healthy, and then not feel any pressure to come back and risk getting injured. Because I think if he comes in and starts game 1, gets hurt in like an early game and has a serious injury, I think that would be a fireable offense in my opinion, for the head coach or for the GM, whoever made that decision to start him.
Here's my thing. Do you think that the Dolphins made a mistake by waiting and just taking the 5th best offensive tackle in Austin Jackson? Because the San Francisco 49ers were on the clock at 13, one ahead of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who everybody knew wanted an offensive lineman. Tristan Wirfs was right there. I believe they should have traded up. They had all this draft capital. But, Austin Jackson, good fit. Do you think he's going to be able to protect Tua?
I think they could have traded up with the Niners, maybe traded like the 18th and 30th pick and moved up to number 13 to take Wirfs ahead of the Bucs. I don't know if that was like super. I don't think it was a mistake taking Austin Jackson. People say he's kind of a reach, but in their eyes, he was the next best offensive tackle. He still had a first-round grade from a lot of people. And they did kind of take a bunch of offensive linemen this draft. They took 3 offensive linemen in total in this draft.
That's what a lot of Dolphin fans were wanting. Like, if you're going to take Tua, then you've got to take options to protect him. This Dolphins team has been depleted from trades and old age and just like not living up to what you're supposed to be doing. Like, they had a solid draft, I think. I really like this draft from top to bottom. I don't have a problem with the Jackson I just think they could have traded up because they had so many picks. But then again, I mean, you got to fill your roster somehow. Now, let's move down a little bit. Is there anybody else that you kind of really like from like day 3 that we should talk about? Actually, better yet, why don't I just tell you who from day 3 I really liked? Curtis Weaver, edge rusher, Boise State, 6'3", 265 pounds. How did he fall to the 5th round? This guy was a beast in college. From the moment he started playing as a freshman to just his last year as a junior, he racked up 34 sacks in 3 years. He had 11 sacks as a freshman. He was Defensive Player of the Year. This guy right here is very intelligent. Very intelligent. What I liked as well is, like, besides his like ability to be a leader, to produce. That's what we talk about a lot of these guys. They didn't produce in college. Well, this guy did produce in college. His tackles improved every year as well. On top of that, his outside rush is a major plus for me. I'm not saying he can't rush inside, but I just like his ability to get around the edge. I just like everything he brings to it. He's got great hands. He has a great way to get off of the line. And it's all due to his high intelligence. And he doesn't have very long arms. He's not a very lengthy dude. You know, and he's not the strongest guy, but he's just got proper technique. He's a guy that's been coached to perfection.
Yeah, and I think one of the major knocks on him was his run stopping ability. He doesn't quite have that athleticism to stop the run consistently. But I think he could be a good situational pass rusher and like third and long. And I think he could be a decent depth player for them.
All right, let's move back up into day 2. Let's go to that offensive lineman they got, Robert Hunt from Louisiana Lafayette.
Yeah, we were talking about how they need to, if they're taking Tua, they need to protect him. So they did. They took, like we said, Austin Jackson in the 1st round, and then they took 2 interior offensive linemen. And one player, I think that from watching him, he looks like he really wants to play for the Dolphins. He wants to come in and be like a physical offensive lineman. It's Robert Hunt. He's very physical, like I said, in the run game. He was a basketball player as well, so he has great athleticism for his size. He's got great feet. He's very agile. He can play guard or tackle. Was projected as an interior offensive lineman, but that athleticism may help him bounce outside and play the offensive tackle position. And I think this is a great pickup. I think he was very kind of a pick that went unnoticed by a lot of people in the media, but I think it was a good pickup for them.
Yeah, overall, this Dolphins team, I think, did really well at getting their quarterback of the future, protecting him on the offensive line, getting a nice cornerback, and then getting some good defensive line pieces as well. You know what? This Dolphins draft, good on you guys. You know, you guys came into this draft with a lot of draft picks, and a lot of people were talking about how they need to trade 3 or 4 picks to move up, and they got to move up. And I know I said they should have moved up from their 2nd pick, but them staying put for a lot of these trades and then dropping back in the late 1st round from 26 to 30 with the Packers was smart, and they have set themselves up for success. I love what this Dolphins team did in the offseason. I love what they did with their draft here. This team is going to surprise people, I think. I really do think this Dolphins team is going to surprise and potentially make a run at the playoffs. And this draft class is just another tipping point. Why? And if Tua sits out a year, next year, they're going to be even better.
Because of time issues, we didn't even talk about like any of the other picks. Like I really like the Noah Igbenegeni pick, quarterback from Auburn. So I mean, we had a lot of players that Raekwon Davis was great value in the 2nd round. Big defensive tackle from Alabama. So I mean, I really like this draft. I think they picked up a lot of not only starting players that can come in and start from day 1, but also good depth that kind of like will form that base going into the next few years. So I agree with you. I really like their draft.
Alrighty, and for their good hard work, the Miami Dolphins get in a solid A on this draft. And that's going to do it for us here on Second and Short. If you guys are liking our content, we got some more draft grades coming. The NFC is on its way. We got more content after that. Click that subscribe button in the bottom right. It's right there. It looks like a subscribe button. It's super easy to see. If you want to see the rest of these playlists, if you are interested and you're a true NFL fan and not just a fan of a team and you like to hear everything that we have to say, top right, you'll see a playlist for all these other draft grades we got going on. Make sure to leave a comment. Tell Aaron how wrong he is in his breakdowns of these guys. And give us a like. Thank you guys, and have a good night.
A special shout out to my older siblings, and I want to just emphasize old because they're really old.
Bye.